Howdy, y'all. I'm Elizabeth Gore. Welcome to The Big Idea, sponsored by PayPal. As the co-founder of the small business funding platform Hello Alice, it has always been my mission to help ensure entrepreneurs have the tools they need to succeed. So let's cowboy up. Today's big idea question is, how can small businesses do good in times of crisis? Our industry focus will be food and specifically yummy soft pretzels. Joining me today to talk about this is Adam Shapiro, the founder of Shappy's Pretzels. Adam is a working actor and Philadelphia soft pretzel connoisseur. You may know him from the hit TV show like The Bear, Never Have I Ever, or Scandal. He began Shappy's Pretzels during the 2020 pandemic out of his Los Angeles kitchen, bringing an East Coast staple to Los Angeles, and business has been booming ever since. There is no one better to help answer today's big idea question: how can small businesses do good in times of crisis? Let's talk to Adam. All right, Adam, welcome to The Big Idea. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, I'm so psyched to be here.
Seeing your shirt makes me really hungry right now.
Yeah, it's my bakery sweatshirt. This thing gets real dirty. Throw it in the wash every day.
You still throw dough? I got to know.
I throw the dough.
I mean, now we look at Shappy's Pretzels and, everyone, I think, thinks nationwide it's so big, but let's go all the way back to the pandemic. What happened?
So it's the pandemic. Everybody's making sourdough. I just make a slight right turn and start making Philly pretzels. During the pandemic, I was really homesick and I was really, jonesing for nostalgia and the kind of food that I grew up eating. And in Philly, soft pretzels are sort of woven into the fabric of Philadelphia.
Literally.
And I had a 2-year-old at the time who is now 7. That's insane. And Katie was pregnant with our second, and it's lockdown. And I'm trying to figure out things to do with him during the day. And he was really getting excited about all of our cooking. And I was like, man, let's not waste time cooking anything but a Philadelphia soft pretzel. Let's figure this thing out. So a few months go by, trial and error. I'm making some bad pretzels. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, Elizabeth, this pretzel was like not just what I remembered as a kid, but like a little better. You know what I mean? And I started just making pretzels and putting them in bags and just slinging them over like Philadelphians who live in LA. I just like threw them over their fences, And then one thing leads to another. Whenever Kelly Ripa goes on vacation, her morning show asks my wife, Katie Lowe's, to be the guest host.
Okay.
And so she's been doing this for a bunch of years. But during the pandemic, that was on Zoom. And It was a national broadcast from our living room. And Seacrest just randomly says one day, what have you guys been snacking on during your lockdown?
Mm-hmm.
As, my husband's obsessed with trying to make a Philadelphia pretzel. And then I just jump on TV, as one does.
As one does, yes.
And I said, yo, Seacrest, I'm bringing you pretzels tomorrow. And I dropped him off some pretzels. He ate them live on the air and was like, these are the real deal. These are legit. Everybody needs to buy Shappy's Pretzels. Now, the reason he said that is because right before I dropped them off, I printed out a sticker on my printer and just made a logo for a company that didn't exist. And I just called it Shappy Pretzel because that's what everybody had been calling them the last few weeks. Like, yo, have you tried one of Shappy's, Philly pretzels? They're amazing. So he reads the logo and he tells the whole country, everybody needs to buy Shappy's Pretzels. I jump back on TV and say, no, there's no Shappy Pretzel. It's just my 2-year-old in her kitchen. We're not even allowed out of the house.
Right.
And so they go and they're interviewing whoever the celebrity of that day was. And I go into the kitchen and I buy shappypretzel.com and get Shappy Pretzel Instagram just immediately, just to have it.
Just to have it. Because you never know.
And I make a 1-page website just really quickly that just says, yo, your mall's pretzel can go itself Shappy.
I love it.
And it's like rode that wave.
Well, the pandemic brought so much innovation. And I actually love small businesses that came out of the pandemic. How do you, our big idea question today is, how do you create a business and stay strong out of a crisis? Which is essentially what you did. I mean, what's your advice to small business owners who are suddenly having to pivot or think differently like you did with Shappy's?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so funny that you said that. Somebody once said, I feel like Shappy Pretzel's a crisis pretzel company. when the pandemic happened, we weren't just selling pretzels. We were selling like a hug from home,
Yeah.
specifically from people that grew up with these pretzels. But like, I'm an actor and I do a lot of comedy, and I always notice that like the more specific the comedy, the more universal it is.
Sure.
And if you try to make something for everybody, it doesn't always work. Following your idea for the comedy, following your idea for the pretzel is going to be really specific. But people, even if they didn't grow up with that pretzel, it still felt nostalgic to them. And I think, the person who said, "Oh, wow, Shappy Pretzels is like a crisis company," they said that because when the actors and writers went on strike, I set up a thing where you could pay for Shappy Pretzels whatever it cost me to make them, bring them to the picket line and feed everybody on the picket line. And we ended up doing like 150 pretzel drops during that time,
Wow.
like over 100, over, probably 100,000 pretzels for that time. And it made people happy for 1 second, which is the whole purpose
That's
of.
beautiful.
And then when the fires happened, it was like, all right, what can we do? Let's get pretzels to the firemen where they're stationed, and let's use the Shappy pretzel truck as a delivery vehicle. So it's weird that I find the most comfort in like, okay, it's a little bit of a shit show right now. How can I use Shappy pretzel to make people happy for a second? And I think, when it comes to that pandemic mentality of like, all right, we got to pivot here. I think like it does. You don't have to be a pandemic business to understand how quickly you have to make those pivoting decisions. When a mistake happens, you figure out how to
Right.
fix and keep moving on. And I think I just and a lot of pandemic businesses had the advantage in that we started in such a difficult time, and we couldn't grow too fast. We couldn't get too big because we literally couldn't. That things were shut down. We could only sell a little. So I had like a good 6 months to build a customer base and really connect with those people and just focus on the one thing I'm selling. So I think in a way it almost gave me an advantage because after the pandemic, when things opened up, it's like everything became a little bit easier. I was ready to sort of start to scale with Shappy Pretzel.
When you made the big jump off your one oven process to the big kitchen, how did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I think it sort of happened organically, right? Which is a good thing when it comes to a baking company. But I think when things started to open up in the pandemic, there's this really cute coffee shop down the street that I would always bring my son to for breakfast. And they opened back up, and they're like, "We've been following on Instagram. This pretzel thing is insane. Can you move the pickups to our coffee shop so that when people
Oh,
maybe they'll buy coffee from us?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. That's two birds with one
oh,
stone."
I love partnerships.
Yeah, it helps them, and it gets this insane pretzel situation out of our
At
out of
your
our
house. Yeah.
which was getting a little crazy. And so we move in there, and they had these beautiful little pastries. And I said, who makes your croissants and your baguettes and stuff? They introduced me to the bakery that makes those. I move in there, and then all of a sudden, now I've got a partner in the baking world, and we started to scale up from there. I taught all the bakers there how to make the pretzels, which was I was crazy specific about, and I was a little bit nuts. And then we were able to sort of take their expertise baking things on scale and my expertise in terms of like what these things need to taste like. And I just really trusted those guys because they knew a lot more than I did about that specific thing, like how to make these in bulk, how to freeze them and bring them back out, and all that stuff. So we moved into this really big industrial bakery that was going to close because of the pandemic. And I was like, "Would a few thousand pretzels a day keep the doors open?" He's like, "Yeah." So all of a sudden we had this giant bakery in El Segundo, and we started making them like crazy. And then once I felt like those guys had a handle on the pretzel making and they could do it without me there, then I started to make all the changes to our infrastructure, like hire a couple more staff, change our website, change the way you order, make it a lot easier for people to order, pick up, deliver, all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden we went from like, my little oven to a full scale, a few thousand pretzels a day business. It was wild.
Adam, I don't know if you thought about it this way, but we talked earlier about purpose and impact. But the reason I love small business owners as a fabric of America, you also helped the coffee shop. You helped this other bakery, and then you helped this industrial center stay open. That is truly the beauty of small business owners working together. That is a beautiful story.
Completely agree. That time in Shappy Pretzel was like the most fulfilling, amazing, and to be able to like partner with them, and that started really Shappy Pretzel partnering with people all over the place. And the one thing I definitely noticed when we scaled was like, as you scale, so do the problems.
Yeah. Oh, well, I knowing you would give all this away for free, but you can't and sustain a business. How did you decide on pricing?
I mean, nobody is better at giving away their product for free. Well, it's a bit of a problem. I gotta rein it in. But I was charging way less than I should, and then I had a bunch of friends be like, "You're insane," right? And I finally like priced the pretzels at, it was hard for me because the pretzels I had in Philly growing up were like a dime for like 6 pretzels at pretzel day at school, So for me to charge someone $3 for a pretzel, it felt like so not Philly, and it felt like, well, oh man, this is way too expensive for one pretzel. This isn't how it works in Philly. But I started to realize, well, I mean, if I'm buying all this product and the flour and the lye and the salt and butter and the milk, all that stuff, like I have to charge this or I'm going to be losing money. And I think that's when I raised my prices. What I didn't realize and didn't anticipate is as we scaled, it's like, all right, now I've got a van, now I've got a delivery truck,
employees, gas,
insurance, space, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, honestly, that's where we are now. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to make this thing profitable in a way that it like all the money isn't going straight back into the business.
Right, right.
It would be cool at some point, now that we're 5 years in, if I could just take like a little bit of money.
You're going to get there, buddy. You've given to so much. The community.
I haven't done that yet, but I look forward to doing it.
The economy is going to give back to you. I can feel it.
I hope so.
Adam, hold that thought and that pretzel. We'll be right back here on The Big Idea. Thanks again to PayPal for sponsoring this episode of The Big Idea on Yahoo Finance. I love their buy now, pay later feature. It is the perfect tool to boost sales this holiday season and give your customers more flexibility to pay. I am thrilled to announce that Hello Alice is partnering with PayPal on the Main Street Rising Awards. Nominate your business or one that you love today to gain access to exclusive in-person events, nationwide recognition, and for a lucky few, grant funding. Head over to mainstreetrisingtour.com to turn in your nominations today. Howdy, y'all. I'm Elizabeth Gore. Welcome back to The Big Idea. I'm here with Adam of Shappy's Pretzels. I love on this show talking about mistakes. We call them our dirty unicorns. They're modeled after my son's dirty unicorn.
I love it.
So give me one of your dirty unicorns, Adam.
You want to talk about mistakes? How long is this podcast?
Listen, give me one.
The mistakes started really soon. My oven broke when I had about 500 pretzels to hand up in those first couple weeks where people were driving down my driveway to make pretzels. When I first moved into an industrial bakery, we had our first 1,500 pretzel day. And I was so excited because I was finally in a big bakery with big ovens and all these people to help me. And I forgot to spray all the parchment paper, and every single pretzel it fell to the paper, ruining the entire batch. But I would say the biggest mistake I made recently, so the Eagles, whenever the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, it's a big Shappy Pretzel day.
Okay.
And I don't recommend starting a business that depends on the success of Philadelphia sports teams. That's not a good idea. No one ever said that was a good idea. But mine does. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl. This is a couple Super Bowls ago when we lost to Kansas City, not the one where we just beat them by like 1,000 points. But we're doing the Super Bowl. We win the NFC Championship. I go on Instagram and I had a few Yinglings, and I say, if you want pretzels for the Super Bowl, I am going to deliver them to you. Go to the website right now, order your Super Bowl pretzels before we sell out, and we're going to deliver them. And in my haste to feed as many people as I could during the Super Bowl, I put no sort of geo parameters on the website. So we get about 120 delivery orders everywhere from like San Diego up to Santa Barbara.
Whoops.
Everybody wants them right before the game. And there's no way I can make all these deliveries. I'm going to have to hire 20 delivery drivers and give each of them a route, and that everything will have to go perfect at the bakery for all of those routes to successfully drop off those pretzels on time. And do you think everything went right at the bakery?
No.
No, because we were making 6,000 pretzels that day, and it was complete chaos. And I had a lot of angry customers, and you definitely don't want Eagles fans to be
Oh,
angry.
boy.
But I will say a really amazing thing came out of this mistake, right? And this is, a lot of the mistakes at Shappy Pretzel, I learned so much. It's like these mistakes are like really like data sets that I can use, And I feel like with this mistake, my last delivery that day was to Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, my God.
And it was like 200 pretzels. He was having a big Super Bowl party. And I drop off the pretzels and he's like, come in, you can. And I was like, no, I got to go. The game's on. I have like 100 people at my house, right? And he's like, well, I'm hosting the Oscars this year and we should do pretzels for the Oscars. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let me know, And I just figured he means a few pretzels,
Sure.
backstage crew. And so the next day I hear from Jimmy, he sets me up with a meeting with the Academy. They say, we want to put 5,000 pretzels under every seat at the Oscars, a bottle of water and a pretzel.
Wow.
And I was like, let's go. So, only in LA can like a really giant delivery mistake end up going to the Oscars. And that ended up being a huge thing. So
I love that. And, our dirty unicorns usually end up as either a massive learning or a profitable pivot.
Interesting.
In that moment, did you have, you're in that crisis moment, and not to mention what happened at the game, but did you think, okay, how can I pivot, learn from this, and turn it into something else? Or did it take you a few weeks to lick your wounds and then go through it?
I mean, I have such an awesome staff. Okay. First of all, I'm surrounded by women at Shappy Pretzel.
Well done, sir.
Work at Shappy Pretzel is just like the smartest, best like female staff members, and the one who sort of runs Shappy Pretzel and the one who's been my assistant. I mean, it's really incredible. And they were taking notes all day about going wrong. And we had a meeting the very next day, going over exactly what went right about that day. And if the Eagles go back to the Super Bowl, what are we going to do to change that? And luckily, we had an opportunity 2 years later where the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl. And we were like, all right, no deliveries. One thing on the menu. Everybody has to come pick up. We'll do timed pickups so we could slowly bake all these things starting at 10 a.m. all the way till 3 p.m. when the game starts. And we're going to make this thing smooth and fun. And for me, I was like, but I don't want to make people like drive all the way to the bakery. And it's weird. I guess as a business, I just worry about the customer experience so much.
Right.
A lot of times it's like, I'm making that up. Right. People were more than happy to drive to the bakery and pick up their pretzels, say hi to me, take some pictures, talk about the game. It ended up being like almost like a pep rally.
Like an event. Yeah.
And like an event. And it was awesome. And I think, a lot of those worries and sometimes I will make things harder for myself than they really need to be, sort of overthink things. And that's why I'm so glad I have this like really smart, capable staff around me that can sort of emotionally separate themselves from like Shappy Pretzel, which it's hard to really do, and like really like think of better ideas and better ways of doing things.
So is that a recommendation you would give to small business owners when they have a rough go or they're in a crisis? The very next day, let's assess this, let's learn from it. I mean, would you put that literally in a process now?
100%. We do that in our theater company. Like the day after closing night of a play, we get together for like a postmortem and we go through it all because that's when it's fresh in your mind. And I think a lot of those like really traumatic, horrible mistakes, those unicorns that happen in business, you just want to sort of forget about them.
Yeah.
I think our brains are trained to like let those things go. So I think as soon as you can, it's like all hands on deck. Let's talk about what went wrong and how we can fix this.
So circling all the way back to our big idea question, what do you think makes a small business strong enough to outlast a crisis?
That's a good question. I think number one, surrounding yourself with really good people. right? I think like that's something I've always done my whole life, whether that's when it comes to my acting world, my social world, my theater world, pretzel world. I think surrounding yourself with really good people that can help you during those times. And then I think the other thing is exactly what you said earlier today, which is like having that North Star, having that. That's why I think it's so powerful when you write down your goals and when you write down short-term and long-term goals, because every decision you make is going to be colored by that thing you're going towards. And when you don't have that thing, that's when things sort of feel like the wheels are coming off.
Sure.
So I think that's the thing that gets you through a crisis, and having that passion for what exactly are we doing here? Are we selling pretzels, or are we trying to give people an experience? We're trying to make people happy, and I feel like that's the big difference for me.
Well, Adam, you have made a lot of people happy, especially me.
I love
coming
that.
on the Big Idea today. I am so
You've made me
grateful.
really happy
I'm so grateful to you, to your pretzels, to you're a great father and a great man, great actor, and I appreciate you so much coming on the Big Idea.
But we didn't even mention the bear. I'm like, this is the show that I'm acting on right now. It's my favorite show on television.
Okay.
Like 3 seasons, and I say to I got an offer, and it's like, for me, I audition for everything. It's rare that I get an offer, let alone for like the best show on television.
Right.
So I finished my first episode. I go up to the guy who created the show, Christopher Storer, this genius. And I said, Chris, thank you so much, man. I love this. I audition for everything. And he goes, oh, well, we just, we're so obsessed with the pretzel thing. We had to get you in here. And
Shut up. Wait.
What?
Wait.
What?
Your pretzels landed you on the bear.
What? It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Turns out all I had to do was make a really good pretzel. Who needs theater
Freaking
school?
awesome, dude.
So yeah, it's been awesome. It's been so much fun, and I so appreciate you having me on the podcast.
Thanks, buddy. At the end of each episode, I like to give a shout out to a small business who is doing amazing work. Today, I'd like to shout out one of Adam's favorites, All About the Cinnamon. Founded by Lindsay and Lawrence McDonald in 2020, All About the Cinnamon is a small family-owned bakery that makes cinnamon buns named after legendary hip-hop artists. So cool. Check them out at their first ever brick and mortar that just opened this past September in Sherman Oaks, California, or at allaboutthecinnamon.com. Thank you, Adam, for coming on the show, and thank all of you for joining us. We hope you've learned a lot. This has been The Big Idea from Yahoo Finance. Please make sure to scan the QR code below to follow Yahoo Finance podcast, or check us out at The Big Idea wherever you get your podcasts. You can also come say howdy to me at any of my social channels at Elizabeth Gore USA. I'm Elizabeth Gore, and as my grandma always said, hold your head up high and give them hell. See you next time.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.